Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This is the SPCMaker 95GF. Featuring a micro swift with a 2.3mm lens, SPCMaker S1104 7500 kV motors, F3 flight controller with an OSD, a 10 amp 4-in-1 ESC, at least that's what it says on the GearBest website, but it also says 2 to 4S compatible, a power switchable up to 200 milliwatt VTX with 48 channels, we've got a buzzer, and LEDs, XT30 for your battery connection, Jim Fan 2035 prop, it does appear to be 95mm, bottom plate is 3mm, top plate's probably 2mm. It weighs 75.18 grams. Comes with an extra set of props. You get 2 battery straps, Velcro for your batteries, extra zip ties, XT30 to XT60 adapter, 2 3S 350 milliamp 30 rated C batteries, and a pretty decent case. So I almost did this video a lot like I did the last video where I don't show you the flight footage first, but I've gone ahead and do that because this does fly reasonably well. I didn't have any terrible problems with it. There are a few things that I think have been covered in other review videos, but I haven't seen too many of those recently. I've been kind of not watching review videos. One is out of the box, it's not ready to fly, and that's my biggest complaint is when you position something as ready to fly or bind and fly, you shouldn't have to work on it in order to be able to fly it. You should be able to take it from the box, bind it to your radio, charge a battery, and go out and fly and have fun. Now, whether it has a tune on it or not, that's another category of refinement that manufacturers can do. And SPC does appear to be putting tunes on there, but I don't know if they're tunes from flight or they're just guessing, because I don't think they're flying these. Otherwise, I think they would probably revise them before they ship them, because I think I've got 4 SPC products sitting here, and they've all got little quirks except for maybe one flies just kind of right out of the box, and it's still got a bit of a quirk. But so I don't have a 3D printer, so the motors need soft mounting. The motors produce all sorts of thrust. That's nothing to complain about. This has some of the best thrust I've seen in this category, and that includes things like the Leader 120 and the Claire I built, and other things. Anything with this 11.0x motor category, this has a tremendous amount of thrust, and it makes it fun to fly. But in order to be able to hit that thrust hard and fly this thing very well, you have to soft mount the motors. And because I don't have a 3D printer, what I did was I took some silicone tape, and you can get this off of Amazon or something of that nature, and I started hacking it up in order to create these little pads, because silicone tape is a little bit squishy, and that helped some. But my biggest problem with this is these motors create enough vibration to where unless you buy, and I did buy some soft mounts for motors, they're on the way, but unless you buy some, you have a 3D printer where you can make some, or you can find another way to eliminate the vibration getting from the motors into the gyro. You really can't tune this like I want to, and even with what I've got here, I'm not very happy with the turn. I kind of feel like I can't fly it like I want to fly it because of the fact that I have to keep the D term and the P term so low that everything just feels a little soft and loose, not sloppy. It's hard to describe on the sticks, but I don't feel like, I feel like I have to make much larger movements to do the same things with this vehicle that I can do with others. I also have to fly a little bit differently because you do get more prop wash, in my opinion. I do a lot of hard 180 turns carrying speed, and you really got to hit the throttle hard or it'll really chop. And you probably could hear that in the audio, that there's a few times where that probably happened pretty well. Hopefully it was close enough to the camera that you were able to hear that prop wash, and that it just, because the D term is so low, in order to keep away from those D term oscillations with this one's prone to, you get a fair bit of that. Now, I don't claim to be a tuning wizard, so someone else out there might be able to tune this up. You might have great PIDs for it, and it flies better than what you see in the flight video I've shown you. But that's one of the reasons that the tuning part of this kind of takes away from the experience, unfortunately. I'm not a fan of these VTXs. I know we've all been asking about for switchable VTXs. A lot of people want 200 milliwatt. I'm not sold that 200 milliwatt is really needed for micros, but everybody's flying environment's different, so you may need that because you have interference, or just you're flying in areas where 200 milliwatt works out better than 25. I really haven't had too much troubles. I've thrown 300 meters out with 25 milliwatt. Of course, it's just line of sight, not with obstacles, and it works fine. But so this does have a VTX that's power switchable, and this one works better than others, but it's just the whole light. But you've got these two LEDs here that light up when you press this button, and you press this button for like 3 seconds, and this is what, my third or fourth vehicle like this. I still feel like I'm guessing. I don't know how this works yet, and maybe that makes me too dense to really be doing this stuff, but it's not coming to me. I would really, really rather see a digital display on there. Matter of fact, a company, AKK, makes cameras and VTXs. They've got one of these squares that are a VTX that does have a digital display like we find in the back of all-in-one CMOS cameras and VTXs. And that's my preference, because we get some sort of feedback about what our button presses are doing. These light sequences, they either flash too fast and I can't tell how many times they've flashed, or the sequence, I don't get it. I'm sorry, I've taken too much time on that fact. So if you fly with friends and you need to change channels, often that might be something you need to consider before picking up really anything with one of these VTXs that's switchable, whether it's power switchable or just changing channels. When you just have this button on the side, I feel it's problematic. I also would prefer we have a 2.1 lens. I kind of like that wider field of view. It gives you a little bit more of that pod racing aspect where everything's just kind of whizzing by. But this isn't terrible. I think what holds it back for me, being what I might consider a daily flyer, is the lack of camera angle. I mean, it's got some, but you're stuck. As a matter of fact, you can tell they shaved down the camera in order to be able to squeeze it in there. So that's, in my opinion, that the inability to be able to change camera angle decreases its value for me. And I would think if you're a pilot, whether you're at the beginning of your journey or you're somewhere in between there and being an expert, that camera angle is something that you play with. And we have oftentimes dealt with having static camera angles in a lot of different machines. But unfortunately, in this one, in order to be able to modify it, Well, I don't know what you can do because the space is so limited. I mount the camera on top, which is a terrible idea. So it's something to consider. I don't want to dwell on the negative things. I did have fun with this. I did fly it, and I was really impressed by that lift and the response on the throttle, how quickly it starts going up. And early in my flights, it kind of got away from me a little bit because I wasn't expecting it to lift up so much. And I had that experience with one other machine, but I'm not recalling which one it was, to where I come under the tree and I come up towards the shed, and then as I get close to the shed, I hit it, but I usually carry forward as I'm coming over the shed. And this one, I with a lack of camera tilt, I apparently wasn't flying as fast as I'm used to and almost went up into the trees. I think I heard something clip one of the back props, but it wasn't in that particular flight, but that was one of the things. And also when I like to go out to the end of the yard that's a little bit more open and do that punch out where I just go up and then I turn down and just kind of face the ground. I like doing that. I've oftentimes thought about doing a move or something. That's what the pro pilots, the guys that get paid to fly, do. You know, they'll do a flip or a roll, or they'll do a series of rolls or a spin, you might call it. But I really like that feeling when you get up there, when you get the nose down, and when you've really hit it to where you've gotten the nose down quickly and you've got it right in the position you want to. I like to focus on that bush that's in the corner there, that feeling that you're still going away. You're looking down, but you're going away. And then you kind of hang for a moment and come down. I really like that. And this provides a good deal of that. So this is, to be able to do acrobatic moves, full throttle, zero throttle moves, this would be a good one. I just think it lacks a little bit in the tuning department. But again, that's one guy. Do your homework, do your research, poke around on the internet, see what other people are finding. Maybe they've found different motors. Yeah. I would think if you're a manufacturer, you need to test vibration, and maybe that's the problem, is that these aren't balanced. You know how they put the blue mud inside the bell within the magnets to balance the motors, because they perform well, but they introduce vibrations, and I think that's what's causing the problem with the D-term oscillation, that keeps you from kind of tuning it to where it's really, I don't want to say locked in, because I'm not a fan of that term. Tune it very sharply, to where it responds quickly on the sticks and it locks right into that spot. It always kind of feels a little bit soft, like it never really got there. But that could be really good for really smooth acro flight. But, you know, I'm pretty happy with this. I know this video is going to sound pretty negative because of the tune, but I just really think that is something to drive home, that we have a lack of camera angle. Changing channels is a little bit of a pain, and the fact that the vibrations keep you from being able to tune this very much. You can't tune it up, so to speak. So your tune is likely going to be a little bit soft, but that could suit you perfectly. If you are looking at other SPCMaker products, I will tell you right off the bat, unfortunately I'll probably have to do a review, but it'll be kind of a hodgepodge. The SPC90NG you should not get. That has a flight controller on it that is not good. It appears to be really, really sensitive to any vibrations, and it has these same motors on it, and the frame is so small, the camera is actually right up against stuff. It's I didn't even bother to fly mine. It was vibrating around and hopping around on the desk. There was no point to it. This guy suffers from some of the same problems. Everything's too tight within the body. We've got either some vibey motors, or we've got something else like a really sensitive flight controller, so I'm going to have to fart around with this one before I get that one in the air. I've already done some testing with it. The SPC80, somebody asked me a question. I think it was either Facebook or somewhere else. Oh, here it is. This one's really noisy. I'm just giving you the negatives. This one's really noisy, and so far the flight times have been really short, like 1.5 minutes inside. So hold on to your hat with that one too. So I think SPC is taking some parts and they're putting together what might be possibly premium parts, but they don't have anybody test flying these products. But this one turns out pretty good. Okay, if you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please leave those in the section down below. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.